You can fly safe for a long time, fly safe for a long time, fly safe for a long time. Sooner or later, judge will cut you down. Sooner or later, judge will cut you down. Go tell that pious traitor, go and tell the content creators, tell the badgers, the bees, and the backstabbers, tell them that judge will cut you down. Tell them that judge will cut you down. Well, my goodness gracious, look at that front page. My head's in a spin from the panic and rage. The judge went down on bended knee. He gave up the empire to Mittani. In the dark of night, he locked up the gate. Became goon vengeance in a twist of fate. He says it's done for the greater good because he didn't do it, then someone would. Go tell that pious traitor. Go and tell the content creators. Tell the badgers, the bees, and the backstabbers. Tell them that judge will cut you down. Tell them that judge will cut you down. You can fly safe for a long time. Fly safe for a long time. Fly safe for a long time. Sooner or later, judge will cut you down. Sooner or later, judge will cut you down. Well, you may think that you're thick as thieves, fighting together in wars, flying together in fleets. But money talks and yes can sing, and greed will make a loyal man topple the king. You can fly safe for a long time. Fly safe for a long time. Fly safe for a long time. Sooner or later, judge will cut you down. Sooner or later, judge will cut you down. Go tell that pious traitor. Go and tell the content creators. Tell the badgers, the bees, and the backstabbers. Tell them that judge will cut you down. Tell them that judge will cut you down. Tell them that judge will cut you down.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Whiskey Gaming Show. I've got with me here on video, we got McLeod. Say hey McLeod. Yes, and we've got Caleb. Hey Caleb. I didn't hear you guys' voice. You guys talking? I don't know. Hey, we got Scythe. Say hey Scythe. Did we lose Scythe?
What?
I had to I had to remute myself and unmute myself to hear you guys. Sorry about that.
Well,
The Discord.
yeah, y'all missed my nonsense.
What was your nonsense that I missed that everybody out on the internet heard?
He basically swallowed his microphone.
Did he? Oh, figures. You drinking a lot?
Fine.
You know he likes to stick things in his mouth.
Yeah,
Practicing
he does.
Vegas.
right before Vegas.
I'm practicing for Vegas.
We'll see what pictures we get from Vegas and have fun with. That's for sure. I don't know about the rest of you, but I am drinking my since it's now autumn, my Shipyard Pumpkinhead Ale. So that's what I am drinking today. Looks like Caleb's drinking tea,
Nope, coffee.
coffee, tea, whatever.
I don't know. They serve that.
Basically the same thing.
Oh, that's
Said the British person. That's funny.
When it comes to the whiskey gaming show, tea and coffee are basically the same thing.
So remember, tea is just hot leaf juice.
But what about vodka coffee? Is it still the same?
Yes.
That's a different
Vodka tea, bro. Vodka sweet tea.
I gotta check the airline regulations, see if we're allowed to bring nitrous oxide on the
You're
plane.
not allowed to be drunk on planes. That regulation I just learned about the other day. You will get kicked off.
Actually,
Well, what if I
and
wait
it-
till we're 90% of the way there?
is this
Yeah, you'll get kicked off.
is this
60%
where I
of the way
admit that
there.
we bought the seats on the airline where we have unlimited alcohol, but not first
I did
class,
too.
but unlimited.
I had
alcohol?
unlimited drinks on my
Well-
seats on the way in and out. But the same.
If you dress up like a pilot, they'll let you on.
There you go. Yeah, that's right.
I was hoping you
No,
were
no,
going to
no,
fuck
no.
it up and say if you dress as a pirate.
There was.
You dress as a pirate? I think that might elude other issues. Just get on the plane and be like, I am the captain now. And then wait for them to react. Let's see what happens.
Let's put it this way. I have drank on flights and things like that, but I was never as drunk as I was coming home for Thanksgiving one time, and with my buddy from New York who moved out to Kansas City, and that boy could drink, and we were so freaking drunk on the plane. It
Gun!
was- Ooh. It's crazy.
I got shot. Sorry.
You got shot. You playing another video game while you're doing a show. Good job.
I always do that. It's like it surprises you.
So for those folks out in the audience going to eVegas, I'll be there. Look me up, Sybil Scythe, and so we hope to meet as many people
So
in the
an
audience as
easy
we
way
can.
to find us is look for the tallest person in the crowd. That would be me. And then Eric will be beside me somewhere nearby within eye view, I assume. Unless we're doing weird stuff.
Yeah, probably. And then we'll have Tomorrow with us too, and that'd be cool.
Yep. Tomorrow I'll be there.
We'll be the dudes
That'd be
in
fun.
funny-looking golf shirts with bees on them. So
Yeah, golf shirts with bees. Always golf shirts with bees.
I'm actually tempted. Because one of the things that what is it? Last minute, CCP said, "Hey, by the way, guys, if you have any swag you want us to throw in the bags for everybody's swag bag, donate it." What's with that?
So I asked Reva if she could poke the Metanian and figure out whether they could come up with 1,200 squeaky bees just for the hell of it.
Okay, I would deliver them. Okay. I
Oh,
would.
man. Which
That would be so funny that you are forced to get a goodie bag with a squeaky bee in it.
Oh, my God. That's awesome.
Actually, the thing to do, because I've looked into this, and I might do this for patriotic tendencies, but I'm not buying 1,200 of them. You can get poker chips made with your logo and words on it. Pretty cheap.
Can't we do a Kickstarter for FanFest then?
What you need is like challenge coins or something made up with your those logos on them.
We'll see. I'll show you. I'll show you what I got, Scythe, after the show. Looks pretty
Nice.
cool. Looks pretty cool.
I have some custom poker chips. I like them.
Yeah, I would throw in for 100 of those babies. Pretty easy. But yeah, next year we got to think ahead for this and get some.
If
cool
it's custom
freaking
poker
t-shirts.
chips, they need to say Casino War is RIP.
I will not be able to
Ooh.
go to eVegas next year because I'll be in Europe during eVegas next
Something
year.
like the Casino War was for pussies. I don't know.
Something like that. It needs to have the word Casino War on it somewhere, and then
This
of course
chip is
the
made
Imperial
out of
logo right
80
there.
Big X tiers.
X's tears.
I'm
What,
opposed to Casino War.
Just like a
Eric,
Casino
that,
War
like,
Big X
just
Memorial
wanna drive
Edition.
out to the
You know what?
salt
Is that
flats
something that
and
RMT?
put it-
Is that something RMT Records needs to do? Like take Tears of the Clown and redo it? Maybe I don't know. I mean,
kinda
that would
wanna go
work
to the
for
salt
General
flats.
Eve, right? They
Yeah.
could probably do something cool with that.
Eric, you just need to go out to the salt flats. We get some footage and be like, "This is the field of
You-
Big X tiers."
You know, if you pack your own lunch, you can go on a little bus tour of the old nuclear testing grounds and all that, right?
I will pass because I'm afraid of radiation. I know
Afraid
it's
of
not-
radiation.
I'm afraid of radiation.
I'm having
And
no more
it's radiating
children, so we're good.
Yeah, I haven't had a kid yet, so I need that to keep working all right.
You need those boys swimming.
Yep, something like that.
All right. So yeah, so I'm still very psyched, but I'm afraid that I may have peaked
You're
psyched too
wobbling,
soon.
Eric.
What?
Your audio, it's in and out.
Kind of cuts out every so often. Like I'm fairly
Does it?
certain it doesn't cut out on the stream, but it cuts out like on Discord.
They were complaining last week, and you know what I'm going to turn off? I am going to turn off the detection. Nope, silence detection is off. So I should not be. But you know what? I may do it on Discord because I am not push to talk on Discord.
You just need to drop the sensitivity thing down.
Yeah.
A little bit, and that's all.
We'll work on that. But yes, so but yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I'm excited. We got the Goon meetup on Thursday, which is also talking in stations. I really wanted to hot drop in on the bar where Talking in Stations was working out of Thursday night, but with the Goon dinner and open bar at the Goon dinner, I don't think that's going to happen.
The problem is the open bar. If there wasn't an open bar, you could make it.
Probably. But you know what? There's going to be a lot of shot skis and stuff like that, so we'll be good. We'll be good. I'm very excited about that. I mean, there's like, what is it, 70 people, 80 people or something coming to the Goon dinner.
Yeah.
That's a big dinner for a group.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. What the hell is that?
What the hell is what?
The music.
I don't hear music. Anybody else hear music?
Nope.
Fuck, am I
I think
having a
you're just
stroke?
going.
Hold on.
I think you just go. Yeah, I think you're having a stroke, man. You're just going mad.
He's having a stroke. So RJ should be
On
here
stream.
later. So yeah, so let's go back to the CCP swag thing, right? It's like, did they decide they didn't have enough swag for the swag bags from CCP or what?
Good question.
So they needed more, you know, and I hear people are doing things like, oh, we're gonna print up like Eve business cards for our corporation. I'm like, really?
Well, you
Yeah,
could also say that
I mean, that's the
it's
cheapest way to
easy,
do
right?
that, right? That's advertising.
They've been
Yeah.
noticing that the swag has been getting better and better from the players, so it might be kind of like an offer to make it easier for the players to distribute their swag. So I think it kind of makes sense.
I kind of like it. Like everyone likes some swag, right? From a thing, everyone likes like getting a little bit of memorabilia to remember everything by. So like it makes sense.
Yeah, we were gonna get prepackaged red, white, and blue M&Ms that had things on like "Be a Patriot," you know, for our corporation, but we didn't. People just eat them; they be gone.
True.
Hey guys. I'm
Hey,
dying
RJ.
Before you got there.
Nah, no worries, man. You know how it is. It's, you know, we take drive-bys. So we've got E-Vegas coming up. The hype's coming up. It's getting real. I actually haven't flown in so long. I got to go look up the flight regulations, what we're allowed to bring and what we're not.
This is the first time I've ever flown on an airplane. So there you go.
Are you serious?
Yep.
What?
Yeah. We road trip everywhere.
I guess it's not bad.
Try not to think of it as a small cylinder that you're packed into that just outside is.
Well, I
death
actually
and, like,
understand that, and that doesn't
Yeah.
freak me out as much as being on top of a skyscraper. Like, it's not even
True,
good.
true.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm
you
more
still
afraid of
kinda
being
look
on a
at a
tall
giant
building than in an airplane. Because, like, I went in a helicopter, and that was fine. So,
I'd be scared shitless in a helicopter compared to anything else. I mean, God, those
Helicopter rides
suckers.
are
well,
awesome.
it was a situation where I think it was because the pilot was, like, actually a friend of mine, so I wasn't worried about it because I knew that guy wasn't a shithead.
Did we teach Eric about auto rotation and the fact that helicopters are really safe?
What?
Can we just go over the fact that helicopters do not create lift by like thrust? They just beat the shit out of the air until the air lifts them up.
Yeah, but they can auto rotate. That means that they can actually land safely. Whereas a plane, if shit goes wrong and stalls,
If your rotor dies on a helicopter, you're pretty much fucked.
Yeah, you're
Airplanes
fine.
have a glide ratio.
You're actually more likely to survive a helicopter crash rather than a fixed wing crash
That's
Because
fucking
of-
weird.
because of lower speeds and lower altitude.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Those
Okay.
And
speeds,
also
lower
rotation
altitude,
gives you
and also-
enough lift
yeah.
to actually land pretty safely.
Come down
Oh no,
fast
hey,
and you
it
stop
worked just
freaking hard
fine
up.
for those guys on the Hudson. Okay, they were a little chilly in the water, but they were all good. All right.
Yeah, that was the only example of an actual crash landing on water.
That worked.
That worked. Yeah, exactly.
And really,
Every
if you
other
wanna
one
get-
has been total fucking death and carnage.
If you want to get really technical about it, the landing in an airplane is technically considered a controlled crash.
Well,
All
I've
right, we're
always
good.
heard
Try not to
they-
think of it as crashing. Try not
So-
to think of it as crashing. Just think of it as landing more vertically than normal.
So I've always
You know?
heard that the difference between landing and a crash is that the plane is still usable to fly. That's the only difference. So if you
Depends
crash,
on how
it'll
many
fall
parts
off,
are left
but
behind.
It'll still work. Yeah, it'll still run. That's considered a landing. A crash just means that the plane cannot get back in the air. So the pilot goes home. It's a crash. All right. Run out
Okay.
of fuel. You just land and they don't have enough fuel to put fuel in the plane. Crashed. Just saying.
Fair
Well,
enough.
all I know is we have the unlimited alcohol seats, so that my wife doesn't have to worry about anything.
I'm just gonna use drugs if I freak out. So,
Usually for me, like the plane takes off, and before we're airborne, I'm asleep. I sleep through the whole damn flight.
I absolutely love the takeoff of air, like being in an airplane and taking off, like the power and like that specific moment. That's the specific moment of being pushed back in your seat, with like with the power kind of the engines going. But like that specific moment where you actually feel that the back wheels lift off is just fucking amazing.
Yeah, I'm
And
asleep.
it's amazing that it's so fast that it takes
Oh, yeah.
so short a piece of time to actually get momentum enough to get off the ground. That
This just
Most
is
of the
the
time.
thing that's
Most of the time
crazy
for
about it.
takeoff.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. So most of the time for takeoff, you're only doing freaking VY, which is somewhere, depending on what your airframe and weight is, it's only about 150 to 160, 170-ish knots.
I just love the fact that the like the acceleration doesn't cease. Like it's like, you know, because it's totally different in comparison to things like, say, like if you're, say, driving like a sports car or something like that, because you're like shifting gears every so often, right? And it's
I mean,
just
if you
the
drive an
idea
electric
of it's
car-
just ceaseless, kind of just raw power, just like all the way. It's great. Anyway,
Yep. So
that's
first
enough about that.
airplane trip for Scythe. He's gonna get drunk to make sure he doesn't freak out. Being a
Don't
or do
get drunk
drugs.
before you get on the plane.
Dude,
Well, I mean,
statistically, it's safer than driving. So, like, you know,
statistics
how many-
also say that if you run out of
Lies,
air,
damn
you don't die.
lies, and statistics.
statistically, everything is more safe than driving.
Statistics say that 100% of people who drink water get cancer, okay? Or vice versa. 100 people who get cancer get water. Fuck.
This
Sorry, I'm
isn't a
getting
Venn
shot at and I
diagram.
can't words.
You can't Venn diagram yourself out of this.
I mean, I
right?
can try. How many circles do I get? That's the question.
100% of people that breathe air die.
There
Yeah,
you go.
100% of cancer patients have drank water at one point in their life. That's what I was trying to say, but I couldn't remember how to words.
It's like 100% of alcoholics drink alcohol. Is that a good one too?
That's pretty good. 99.9% of germs are caused by germs. There.
This is a whiskey gaming. I saw this meme the other day where it's a fucking father talking to his kid, and he's like, kid was like, "Yo, Dad, how do you know you're not an alcoholic or whatever?" He's like, "See those two posts over there? If I was an alcoholic, I'd see 4 of them or 8 of them." And the kid was like, "I only see 2 of them. That's why there's 4 of them. So I'm not an alcoholic or something like that." It was freaking crazy. I had to find because he was seeing 8 posts. The kid was seeing 2 posts. He's like, "Yeah, it means you see 4 posts. You're not an alcoholic."
Oh my
The
god.
classic
What's that
alcohol
one?
joke is still the one that says alcohol is a solution.
That is true. Legitimately, it is a solution. All hail science.
Whew.
God.
Oh, hey, speaking of science, anybody catch the thing that's going around social media that they want to make a reality show about, and they want to put flat earthers on a boat and tell them to go find the edge of the world?
I would watch the fuck out of that. I would watch that so much. Oh,
You know what would be the best thing about that show? Is
They
if
send it
somehow through some sort of video, whatever, make them actually find the edge and freak everybody out watching it.
I'd love it.
That's
I'd love it to be like
pure
the ending.
experience.
I'd love it to be like the ending of the Truman Show, where they
Yeah,
just
the
like the
Truman-
boat just
Oh,
goes
yeah.
straight into the edge, like just. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's a distillate.
like-
It's not a solution.
Distillate.
Yeah.
Oh fuck!
Oh damn!
We
Yeah.
just got wrecked. We just got outscienced.
Nah, we got
Yeah,
mixers.
fine.
We're good.
Try again, nerd.
Okay, Bill Nye.
No, never confuse me with Bill Nye, the guy who's
Greatest.
not really a science guy. So,
Hey, don't insult Bill Nye. He has three
Oh.
fake doctorates. Honorary doctorates.
don't make me play some of his show outtakes. That's a little hilarious.
Bill.
So, I hate Bill Nye, the science guy. He's a big fucking idiot. So, and now we have that on video forever. So we've got Eeg Vegas.
hate the regional coordinator?
Scythe is gonna fly for his first time ever. Scythe, you get drunk
super
on the
excited.
plane, not
I'm gonna-
before you get on the plane.
I'm gonna make a Twitter account called Scythe's Drunk Airplane Adventure, and I'll be live tweeting me being drunk on the plane.
Yes.
How about that? Yeah.
Yeah.
The stewardess told me that I have to get a seat, but I'm on the floor. Stuff like that will be.
It's flight attendant. What are you living in the 60s?
It's a steward or a stewardess.
Hey,
Sir?
hey, RJ,
From the south, son.
an air waitress. Okay,
Sky waitress.
Sky waitress.
she
Sounds
brings
It's
me.
the worst superhero ever. Is Sky waitress.
He or she brings me food and alcohol. Okay, that's all I'm worried about.
Like a happy angel that brings me alcohol. Bring me the
Happy
alcohol.
angel. That's it.
Like, so we're gonna have to ask you to.
Yeah, please leave the plane, Mr. Asmach. Please, over here. This door, trap door. Go through it. No. No. I mean, no. Actually, a fun aviation fact. Back when U.S. Air was a company, before they merged with American, just became American or whatever. Whatever the hell they are today. I don't know what they are, but when U.S. Air was an actual airline here in the U.S., they actually had a captain, and his actual real name was Bud Weiser.
Sweet.
It's true. My father was on a flight with him, and he announced himself, and he thought he was crazy. And one of our neighbors was one of the pilot trainers. He goes, "No, that's his real name." I'd like to be on a flight with. Oh, and by the way, he had given, since they sat on the tarmac so long waiting to take off, he had the stewardesses give everybody free alcohol. So he was the best pilot ever.
Better. I've actually run
Sponsored by Budweiser.
There you
in the
go.
military. I've actually run into this officer, and like, this is no joke. It's literally his last name was Dick, and he was a major.
For back
Well,
when there
is
was a
this-
database called
There is
Ingress,
a.
their one of their top technical guys' name was Richard Self, and he actually introduced himself to all his clients as Dick Self because he thought it was funny.
That's
There is a hypothesis out there, by the way, that's called, basically it's called nominative determinism. It's essentially like your name almost sort of like subtly and subconsciously almost like can shift you towards doing certain professions. It's kind of strange.
Holy shit, that got deep fast.
I'm
No,
like,
I'm just saying, like
Names have power.
I've heard
Dude,
of
just
like
names have
loads
power.
of these different
Alright.
things.
Wait, say that one more time. You just like my mind's kind of trying to get back into its head.
Yeah.
Right now.
Oh, sorry, it's called nominative determinism.
Nominative determinism.
It means your name defines who you are, essentially.
Yeah, it's like your name sort of like subtly and subconsciously.
It's
ends up
straight
defining
up
what you do.
fucking fairy nonsense / Dresden Files bullshit. But I'm just saying.
I'm Googling this shit right now.
See,
So
just look
good.
at the Dresden
Okay.
Files. They make jokes about it all the time. Names have power. Let's do it. You
that
can
why that
name
guy-
a thing. You have control over it, people.
Is that why that guy in Iraq has called himself God Emperor?
His
Well,
name's-
let's-
what?
Guess
didn't hear that.
For that whole name thing, right? God Emperor? Is that why that guy on Dune did
Oh,
it?
It's becoming the secret version of the Whiskey Gaming Show.
The secret,
The secret version.
By the
This
way-
is where we all reveal that this is actually an intervention for RJ, where he's a flat earther, and we're just trying to convince him that he's wrong.
Oh, dude, globe, man, globe.
What?
It's
Globe?
round. It's
Okay.
round.
All right. See, it worked.
It's
Guys,
spherical.
successful intervention. Well, I just re-topped off the 30-ounce pina colada cup, so we're good to go for another hour.
30-ounce Pina Colada.
I need to get.
I'm drinking it
I need to
out of
get
a
my beers,
Yeti
actually.
cup so it stays icy fresh.
Who sings that song? You know, do you like Pina Colada?
That's the Parrot Head people.
Steely Dan? I don't know who is that.
The bear head people.
The Parrot Head's like that guy. What's his name?
No, it's not the Parrot Head guy.
It's not the Parrot Head guy. For some reason,
No.
that's all that came to my mind.
I can't believe he
What
calls
is
him a Parrot
30
Head guy.
ounces for in science units?
They're
Science
ounces.
30
units.
ounces.
Ounces. That's like the real unit.
That is a
I don't know
science
what-
unit.
Get your bullshit
it's,
fucking Euro measurement
It's
out of
3
our heads.
gills, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't
3
know.
gills. Actually, I have no idea how many gills that is, but I'm going with 3 gills.
34
A liter is-
ounces
a
in
liter is-
milliliters is 852 milliliters, so almost a liter.
Almost a liter. That's a nice big pina colada, that's for sure.
Yeah.
This is number 2. Fuck it.
Dose.
You're gonna die, bro.
I control the alcohol content. It's just enough alcohol that if I sip on this, I'll just stay drunk for the rest of the day, which was my plan.
I don't know much about units of measure, but I could tell you how they used to measure the power of lasers.
And how many
That's-
rabbits they could turn into popcorn.
No, it was actually a unit called Gillettes, and it was how many Gillette razors the laser could actually go through. And it was basically like, it was like 3 Gillette razor or
It's the
razors.
same.
that's
It sounds like
power
the
of
same
laser.
way they used to measure how good a katana was. It's how many people you could cut through with it in a stack. This is a 5-person sword. The fuck kind of measurement is that? How fat were these people? Like, what was their muscular density? I need to know. This is not a useful approximation of the power.
Okay,
of
okay,
this
let me explain something. The sword went through bone. It doesn't fucking matter.
I know.
Okay, let's talk about some Eve stuff. We allowed to do that? Are we allowed to talk
We
about...
did. We talked about Eve Vegas a little bit.
We did.
I'm gonna quickly get a couple of beer. I'm gonna quickly get a beer or two. So like, yeah.
Okay,
Make
go
this
run get a
work.
beer. We're going to start talking about the Lifeblood stuff. And it looks like we've got some new shit coming out for that related to a little improvement of life with the UI. And I'm looking at the UI here from the dev post, and I'm like,
Patches everywhere.
I don't know, does this make my life better, or does it just look pretty?
Both.
I'm not sure.
It always is pretty.
Regardless of how good a patch is, Eric, you have to just be angry about it anyways.
Okay.
Why?
It's your job.
No, you guys just think I'm angry.
No, I get angry about the patches because I'm tired of downloading shit.
I actually see. You guys misplace my anger about CCP's patches with. I don't ever actually think their stated intent, their result from that patch. Number one, I don't think the intent that they state is their true intent with a patch, and I also don't always think that they have a clue how it's going to affect the game. Right. I think the moon mining changes are going to make Moon Goo super valuable because it's just not going to be mined as much.
Well, and I keep defending CCP in this regard that it is kind of like trying to repair a Formula One car while it's driving. You don't even get the pit stop.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be hilarious. I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be fun for people who have properly predicted the market. They're just gonna make gobs of ISK, and for people who didn't, it's gonna cost them a gob of ISK, and everything. The cost of everything is gonna go through the roof. So people who are worried about inflation in Eve, guess what? The moon mining, the way they're changing it, is gonna cause a little bit of inflation.
I mentioned something I would actually like your take on the Talking in Stations show today. If all this synergy and the PCU numbers keep climbing, and we get the Eve Valkyrie players, and in the future the Eve Nova FPS players, and all this stuff, and we actually start getting growth in Eve, that could put a lot of pressure on the Plex value. And I don't think CCP has any like easy solution for that one.
Whew. So when you look at that, right, if those users use Plex the same way that the current player base uses Plex, when you think about it, right, the only solution, CCP's only left with two solutions, right? They unload their dry powder that they've confiscated to help mitigate prices, and they run Plex sales, right? Which Plex sales probably do CCP a lot of good, because if you're growing your player base, right, getting players to buy
it's going to be a
Plex is
question
going to
of,
be great.
do we get a positive influx of whales, right? The ones that actually run their credit card into the machine and put money in the system, or will it be a cultural shift? Because personally, I think the younger, newer player base are not as likely to want to pay for things or even pay a lot for playing a game as, say, the older generation. I think a lot of the whales and credit card warriors are actually older. So if it's a newer segment, that should be lower. So that means that there's going to be a lack of supply of Plex to the system, and it's actually going to be an increase in demand, hence boost in price.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, but I'm saying CCP only has two ways to combat that, right?
Counter it, yeah. They have to either lower the price or increase or boost the utility of Plex in some way, or they could do something like what I've mentioned before. There wouldn't really be a huge problem with saying that the alpha state, or rather logging in and having access and using your character, doesn't actually cost anything, regardless of how many skill points you have. But what costs something is to actually train it and progress it, right? You could do that in some way.
You could, but I don't think that's a good business proposition for them. What I think is probably better, if the player base is growing, right? By the very nature of it, they're gonna sell more Plex. Okay.
They're going to sell more everything. They're going to sell more FanFest tickets. They're going to sell more swag. They're going to have a lot more economic activity, and that means that having more players active, regardless of whether they are necessarily producing any economic activity, is going to create promotional activity and content, and that is going to be directly convertible into money, right?
Yeah, I would argue that the current swag they've got in the Eve store sucks shit. Okay, and if they did real marketing and real design on that clothing line and gadgets, they'd make a lot more money. But that's
I totally agree. They need to fix those prices, and they, especially now when you've got the other brands coming out. So you have the whole store should kind of be one thing. So you can buy clothing for Nova, for Spark, and skins for Valkyrie, and skins for Eve, and whatnot, and have all these vanity items in one big store that you can shop in. And then ideally, you should be able to shop with the same currency. So I think Plex should actually be used in all the brands. But again, that's me dreaming of brand unification. But I do think that there's a good argument for it, because I think within very short time, like maybe a year or two, and I think like 70% of all Eve players will be playing one of the other brands as well.
The one of the things I was thinking about too is, so 500 Plex are basically $20 USD, right? And that's a pretty heavy premium on 30 days of gameplay. Okay, if your player base is growing, it allows you to do certain things with your economic model, right? I mean, they have room in $20 to come down in cost of Plex. They do.
Yeah.
And
They can do half the cost, and it would not change anything for their revenue.
Well, half the
I mean-
cost. Half the cost is too much because an annual subscription in USD is $10.41 or 47 cents, somewhere around there, if you pay annually, right? But they have a couple dollars they can move in there. But you were going to say something, McLeod?
Well, I was going to say something, mainly down to the fact that they are doing this. There is a sale in the Humble Bundle kind of store, if you know what that is.
Yeah.
At the moment that they're doing, and it's the premium pack for EVE Online. I thought it was kind of fairly limited time, but I believe it's still going on. Still like 1 day. Hang on, where is it? How long is it still got to go? Like 1 day, just under 2 days, basically, that the thing's still on, and it's half price now over its Humble Bundle. Essentially, what you get is a month of Omega. You get 650 Plex, which obviously you can buy another month of Omega as well. Plus, you get a multiple character training thing. Like, there's a bunch of random things that you get with it. It's actually it's interesting in the kind of way that you're talking about how Plex prices should come down, or that they should do more sales and stuff like that. And
I think
it
I'd like
is
to
kind of
interject
like that at the moment.
I think I'd like to interject that as a very old player, I'm perfectly fine with giving money to CCP. I just don't think that it should be for access. I think it should be for everything else. I wouldn't mind paying for, say, PDFs of some of the old Eon magazines, for new magazines, for publications of any type in CCP. I'd be happy to pay real money for all these services, things that they already have, and doesn't actually cost them that much to make available for real money. What I don't really feel like paying for is creating the content for them. That's kind of what I find a little bit offensive. I think of all the games out there that should be free, it should be EVE, because in no other game is the players actually creating the content.
Well, in a sandbox, you're going to create the content, right? So, I mean, I get it that we create the content, right? But I mean, there's still resources that we're using to generate that, right? I mean, they've got operations overhead with those servers.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm saying that there should be some sort of need to pay, right? But I don't even think that they actually require that to get the revenue stream that they want, because I think a lot of the players in EVE are so passionate about the game and buy all these things from, well, now the store is a little bit crap, but they would be perfectly fine spending money on all the other things related to EVE.
Do you know how much money, for instance, they would make off of just me if they sold 3D models of the ships?
That's a good example.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the
When you say 3D model, do you actually mean the manufactured 3D model or the file so you can print your own?
Oh, like the actual manufactured fucking painted
Because
ships,
that shit is fucking expensive as fuck.
It's super expensive to manufacture, and also bearing in mind that
Because they'd need to
you're gonna
partner
need to
like
deal
Hasbro or someone like that, and getting one of those is going to be difficult because they don't have their own manufacturing facility, so they'll have to find a part.
Yeah,
because remember, like,
promotion and sale.
because remember, CCP really went into the gaming industry in a way that most other kind of games at that time didn't. Like, they went into it in a sense of like, all of our kind of products are electronic goods, and they're going to be basically distributed via the internet. They never really properly put together an actual physical kind of like a decent sort of physical distribution network in any way, shape or form, or partnered with anyone properly with anything like that. So it's kind of difficult to break into that market, especially now, I guess.
So for a perfect example is like what they're missing out on. I think it's been touched on here. It's like let's just do T-shirts, right? That's something cheap that anybody can really do. I've done it. Do you know how many conversations about the game and how many people I've gotten into the game by wearing just the self-made Bastion T-shirts that we made out when I was in the Bastion? Imagine that it's like you actually sell some really cool like EVE Online shirts. It's free promotion for them, and it's new players for them. Don't they want that? I mean,
They
put the
do,
shit
and
in
they well see right, but they're not a merchandising company, right? They tried to partner with who was that gaming T-shirt company they partnered with a couple years ago, and that seems to have gone through the dropped through the woodwork. You guys remember who that was?
I don't
Nope.
remember.
God.
But they did try and partner with somebody doing some of that, and first you need a growing player base. You need people excited about the game. You need it growing. Now we've got some temporary numbers in the PCUs that are showing better than last year. Okay, based on my assessment, right? You are on average in the same time period, 2,000 more players than you had this time last year in the concurrent online era, right? You have rising numbers. Now, what you see historically is September, October, rising numbers. November and December, they drop. Okay? So you have to watch to see whether you can continue the trend, right? And if CCP is able to raise the concurrent user by 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 into the first quarter of next year, then you can say you have got very positive symmetry or synergy within the numbers, right? How much of that is the result of all the news we've had lately? We've had a bazillion news articles in gaming news, right? What?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask
Especially
you
with
guys.
the CO2 stuff.
Outside of the content that the players create, and many of those news articles were driven out of the Imperium itself, right? Members of the Imperium who work for those news agencies, right, are the ones that pushed a lot of that content out. CCP didn't necessarily have a hand in pushing a lot of that out, from my understanding today. That could be wrong, so let's temper that. But we know at least 4 or 5 of the articles were pushed by the Imperium themselves, and then you had sort of a whirlwind after that. My thing is, how much marketing do you really see CCP doing in the
More
general
importantly,
space?
how much of it works, right? I think the argument should be, if you're looking at it from a marketing perspective, what is the cost to get one new customer, right? I'm pretty sure that the value of that, at least 50% is actually created in the way that the player base do the marketing to themselves and to new players, right? It's not actually CCP putting in the effort or the money to actually create those new accounts. That's primarily done by the player base and by other news industry. So I think promotional, marketing-wise, CCP are definitely not putting in the value. That's why I'm arguing that because the players create so much of that, the marketing, the content. I know that Eric says that we shouldn't use the word content, but the activity, the thing that makes the game alive, is primarily made by the players. Then CCP should consider that access to the game should really not be locked out by some sort of payment wall. That should be taken down even more so than the alpha model. And that's why I think that you should only pay for things that grant you vanity or benefit. I know that some will say, oh, pay to win. Most games out there are going to have some aspect of pay to win, but no matter how much you actually pay in EVE, how many plex you make with your credit card, it's not going to make you capable or better than anyone else. That's not what it is.
Yeah, and Irox is out there saying somebody doesn't have any issue with that being used for articles. No, don't mistake me. I completely believe that the content that we create in the game, the big things that we do, that CCP absolutely should have a big capability to push that into the gaming media, okay? And push those articles. But what you have is the players are pushing those articles, not CCP. So
yeah, it's basically that the player base is the stakeholders, right? We're kind of like the co-employees, and we are supposed to be the ones. Can I finish? That are generating the things that should generate money, right? That's kind of what we're supposed to do. But there's a payment wall to enter the office to make the money. That makes no sense.
Well, it makes sense to me, but who's going to talk next?
So I have a question
it was
for
at
y'all.
RJ or McLeod. It was somebody.
I think it was
I
RJ.
didn't
RJ?
hear.
It was me.
No, it was Scythe.
Okay,
I have
Scythe, go Scythe.
So I have a question, just to y'all, because advertising for your product is actually very, very important to actually get your product to sell.
Amen.
Just a question to y'all. Have you ever actually seen one of the EVE Online ads outside of the game or looking it up?
Nope.
Like one of the
I think
actual
I
video
may have
ads
seen
about
it
an
on YouTube.
expansion or something like that in front of another video, something like that, without looking up the ad itself?
I see it on Google Ads, but that's just
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
fucking go to it.
Yeah.
Because you click, you already play EVE, and that's how
Yes.
come it knows to send you that ad.
Yeah.
I have never once seen an ad drop for EVE in front of anything. Ever.
Yeah.
And I click on so many goddamn YouTube videos, it's not even fucking funny.
I will see them occasionally in Facebook or something like that.
Like, the
but-
closest thing you'll see is the Facebook ad, and people
do.
think it's one of those stupid fucking clicker idle games,
Mm-hmm.
and no one's going to buy it off of that, because that's what you expect on there if you're actually looking for games.
here's
The real
what I
joke
look
is
at.
that it shows up in the searches of the people that already play the game. It's like,
Yeah.
we've already bought
It's
it,
not
guys.
helping
Why
them.
are we getting this?
Exactly.
This makes no sense. You should get this out to the people that have not seen it yet.
I've already given you all my money.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you sending me an ad for your product? I already am giving you the money for said product. You need to reach out and put ads in front of fucking like Blizzard videos or nonsense on there. And
This is
put
what
it in
I
front. Put it out there with like WoW stuff, like other MMOs. You're gonna get your people.
If I was-
Anytime there's a Star Trek video, stick it in front of there. So I'm gonna click.
Well,
on that
that's
shit.
the thing, right? So, I mean, if I were marketing an Eve, right, forget the mass marketing of necessarily something. However,
Targeting.
if you were doing the advertising prequels in the movie theater for movies like you said, Star Wars, Star Trek, any of those space techie sci-fi things, I would stick a fucking Eve trailer in front of those every single
Oh,
time
yeah.
one was released.
Oh my god!
and then-
you
Okay.
would get so many.
That
you would
brings
get so
up
many
the
people going
Vegas
looking
thing.
it up.
You saw what they're going to pre-screen at Vegas, right?
Blade Runner.
Yeah, and that's kind of the collaborations they should do. Same
Yeah.
with Netflix and Star Trek and stuff like that. So it's quid pro quo, right? We do a pre-screener with the Eve crowd to your stuff, and you put in a little ad in front of the things in the
Well, come
general
on,
population.
come on. Give Manifest a freaking budget and let them do some shit or something, right?
I don't know if it has anything to do with it right now, but I'm looking at CCP jobs right now. They're looking for, and you know me, I always look at the CCP jobs because
Yeah.
Fatal Poke. I'm trying to be a friggin' artist for them, but they never hire. But they're
They
looking.
don't pay any
for
money
se-
either. Come on.
But they're looking for senior manager, director of communications, and that is all their social media, et cetera, .com shit going on. So
Yeah.
there might be a lacking in there, or they're thinking about it already.
Chat's just told us to stop using logic in this argument.
get back
on
to drinking and
advertising.
not
You're
making
telling me
sense.
stop talking sense. I'm sorry. It was a good question. And that's all I can
Logic
think
is
about this
undeniable.
entire time.
Well-
Are complaining about their ad schemes.
I disagree that there is a disconnect in some of their ads and actual gameplay, right? When you look at all ads for even first-person shooters in this, they're a little bit different. But they actually
the
have
Mac.
actual gameplay, right, that they can do. And they
Like-
did that.
Was it the I Was There ad where literally it shows the interceptor flying through fleet? That shit. That's literally the gameplay. You fly
Yeah.
straight through the fleet to
Well-
dodge fire. Like, what do you want from them?
I think
It's-
the return
not like
customer value, right, on the Eve players is a lot more created by things like the INN and EVE-NT. Now it's plus 10 gaming, but I think that's where CCP should really focus, because this is a word of mouth game. It's really what it's about, and making their collaborators and their stakeholders able to actually get out and reach new people. That should be the easy mode for their promotional stuff. And they haven't supported that at all until recently. They are starting to do that now a lot.
Yeah.
Free passes for Vegas, and EVE-NT has gotten a lot of support from CCP also, because they've basically been showing CCP how to actually do their tournament stuff. So
Well, and then somebody's mentioning in the chat there, right?
Like the
then the
battle
TD
sim-
bullshit, the tie-dye bullshit, right?
Tie-dye is actually a pretty decent solution to the issue at hand, which is try getting X thousands of players on screen and actually playing in real time is pretty fucking hard.
Let's not say anything negative about tie-dye, because anyone that can find a game out there that can have almost 1,500 or more players actively shooting and fighting each other at the same time, it doesn't exist.
You have a...
Good luck.
Well, hold on.
They
You have
really
a-
got that Raw or whatever. They had 250 on screen, or Maw or whatever it is. Good luck getting anything better than that. And that played like shit.
Let's put it this way. At least it's somewhat playable compared to anything else you can do. Now, I'm going to argue that, and by the way, I'm not going to say something bad about tie-dye, because I think it's a pretty ingenious solution to what they're doing. It's not ideal. The difference between ideal and pretty decent is a world of difference. What the biggest thing that sells EVE are big battles, right?
Yep.
So I would truly like to see some capital investment into improving
and
tie-dye.
long history and big organization,
But-
and big heists and stuff like that. There's a lot that sells
Right.
EVE.
But that's an argument, a financial argument, okay? Because that's the argument you have to make in business. There is a financial argument that big battles make big news and make people want to come to the game and play in those. That is a technical that is a business argument for putting money into the infrastructure and the design teams to fix tie-dye and make it better. Right? That's where I'm going with that.
You know, fix tie-dye and all that shit. Quantum computing, probably.
Yeah, 20 years from now.
Yep.
What they need the capability to do is they need the server redesigned in order to take advantage of modern computational
They need to be able
architectures.
to
And they can
dynamically
do it.
add servers without, like, basically ejecting everybody from the server.
Well,
I'm getting a little bit triggered by these summer children arguments in chat right now, because they're just stupid, because they're not right. The whole there's no skill barrier anymore that was removed with skill injections.
Well,
Well, then it's a pay out of pocket barrier to get the skills.
No, you can do that by playing. Play to pay. It's perfectly valid. If you're good enough, if you're dedicated enough, if you put in the time and the effort, and you go and work in Dell, perfectly valid to actually put the skill injectors instead.
oh yeah.
You ruin your own argument. You have to go work in a specific area.
No. That was just an example. You can do it in Darkness as well. You just need to actually play with other people. You can't solo pick
You
anything.
can go do it in Delve.
Okay.
Go do it in Delve. You can go do it with Goons in Delve. You can go do it up north with Darkness. You can go into
Anywhere.
XX Death and like DRF territory and go do it there. It's like easy.
Yeah, and Thilo wants us to stop giving any recommendations to fix tie-dye because he likes to be able to take the break to go out and buy some alcohol when he runs out during the battle. And
That
it's
honestly is the
technically
best part
valid
of
argument.
tie-dye. Go take
Honestly,
a shit between
tie-dye-
changing targets.
Honestly, the funny thing is like a lot of people sort of talk about tie-dye in a bad sense because they've all experienced the whole max 10% tie-dye and hated it, right? That's not tie-dye. That's old school lag. When you get to 10%, brick walled at 10%,
Yeah.
that's old school lag. That's not tie-dye. That's
You
what
could
we
argue
used
that
to
if you
have to
consider
deal
how
with
many...
all the time when we didn't have tie-dye. Tie-dye is basically the graceful degradation of the ability for the server to cope with what was happening.
Yeah.
And you could argue that tie-dye is actually extremely good for content creation. The number of people that are entertained for how long and how important that battle is in the ecosystem. Everything is positive about tie-dye. The only thing that's downside-
Caleb, what you're saying is
Hey, hold on,
slow
hold on.
the gameplay down
well-
to make it more fun.
Hold it,
All
I'm
right,
getting
let's
some
do that.
shirts.
That's how that
I'm saying that
works.
it's a solution to a huge problem that would either that or you
It's-
have to lock
it's a
people out at
solution.
250, right?
It's a decent solution, but it's not the best solution, and they don't have the money for the best solution because they need more players.
There's only one solution.
They've got
and
money.
it's not- and tie-dye is like a pretty good control for the equipment that they have, but talk about the real poison like Fozzie or something. That's poison.
Yeah, because y'all just made the point earlier. I was thinking about that. I'm like, the stupid Fozzie laser bullshit, that doesn't make big fight. That makes, a couple guys go in here, hit this little button, and then we have this zone now, and we don't have to worry about it.
Well, the point is that there's very few things in EVE that you cannot attack, but I would say you cannot say anything negative about the Plex model, you cannot say anything negative about the tie-dye solution, and you cannot say anything negative about the exchange marketplace that's in effect and have been since day one. these three things are so unique and so, during the circumstances, perfectly created that nothing can surpass it yet.
Yeah, no, there's some issues, but still.
Yeah, but they are.
It's tie-dye works. Like, you cannot say that tie-dye doesn't let the battle actually unfold properly. It doesn't let the fight actually get weird where one side wins because their computers are slightly closer to the server.
Oh, Uranus is mad at us.
Oh,
Sounds
all
like
right.
a toilet paper issue.
Uranus is always mad at us. That's fine.
He's just mad because we are not wearing wizard hats.
No. You will see your
Yeah.
sexy Matani in 6 minutes, Uranus. Other than that, you gotta still put up with us for just a little bit longer. So yeah, when you look at what, from a technical perspective, CCP has done with this game and the solutions they put in place, it's pretty amazing from a programmatic perspective, right?
Minus
Minus
Forget
Fuzzy Soft.
Fuzzy Sob is not included in what I consider the operational aspects of the code underneath the game, right?
And you're not allowed to
It's
say it when
poison.
Eric is in the room.
The code
Fuzzy
of
Sob.
poison.
Fuzzy Top fucking sucks, okay?
You know,
And
I,
it's the worst
I will
sob
pay
system ever.
you the 250 million ISK for a freaking pap link, so I don't have to go into an Entosis fleet. How about that? Jesus, that suck.
Hey, we had a new sub, Chris Savage
12
or
months.
whatever.
Nice.
12 months. Thank you for those substitutions. We do appreciate it. Follow subs and what was it that Matterall had?
Tips and bits and...
Tips and bits and subs or something, he said, are always welcome, right? So, yes. So, we've got the last 5 minutes here. What do you want to wrap up with, Caleb? Oh, you know,
The fact that we didn't get to talk about any of the things we were
How about Eve
supposed
Valkyrie?
to. Yeah, we should mention Eve Valkyrie because the Tuesday the new patch is going to hit and we will all be able to actually play it on our PC.
That is true. I did have the video, but we're
Without
so late in
Google.
this show that I can't.
I have to go get my flight stick out of storage.
Oh yeah, so do I. Shit.
And I have promised to actually come and beat Siphon.
Mine's kind of
flight
old
stick?
and stank.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But before we leave, since it's Whiskey Gaming, my character, Cold Corpse Coliseum, I just posted a link in there. If you haven't heard of the Osiris New Dawn architecture update, you need to watch that. It is
Oh yeah.
Go play Osiris.
Which one's that?
The Martian kind of thing. You get trapped.
Oh,
on a
yeah.
planet.
Yeah, I
You
saw
can-
that. That
you
looks
can
fun.
stack habitats and shit now. It's
Oh,
like,
sweet.
You need to watch that freaking video.
Martian skyscrapers.
Like and there's elevators and shit. You can go like, yeah. Osiris did a lot of freaking updates. It's amazing. It's cool.
Yeah. And the conversation in there about code in the chat is when you're dealing with legacy code, and any old game's going to have it. It's not exactly easy to unwire all that stuff. Things can be in there, and it can be really challenging to do. As an old coder or an ex-coder at this point, right? I've seen some of that stuff, and it can get really ugly. I've seen some old COBOL code that was really bizarre. But hey,
You weren't there, man. You weren't
Some
there.
old school Python
I was
code.
there.
Even
I was
better.
there.
Well, at least it wasn't actually notated in Icelandic.
Yeah, it's true. Right, with probably no documentation, right? So that makes it even
The old
better.
documentation is all designed in Icelandic, if there is any.
There's
Yeah.
no comments. Nothing
Doubt
that
there
tells you
is
how
any.
anything works.
Yes. So it is a challenge, but CCP have, they've got a pretty fantastic game here. I think as longtime players, like anybody is, people tend to mistake that they're upset or mad at the game with dedication to what the game can be, right?
Eric,
People are
someone
talking about
just insulted you by saying that you're Fortran.
I did once teach Fortran.
And COBOL.
I did not teach COBOL. I did teach Fortran to a bunch of high schoolers and their physics teachers.
So how many programs do you have on punch cards in your house right now?
I have 0. I've never used punch cards. I'm
Okay.
post punch card, but maybe VT100 terminal. Ultrix.
Is it
Linux.
bad that I actually have a program I made on
Deck
punch
systems.
cards because it was extra credit in a class that I was not passing?
Ah, nice one. Fortran.
It's like
No,
make-
I avoid Fortran.
Make the computer say hello world with punch cards. I'm like, well, shit.
C, 3GLs, 4GLs. That's kind of where I live. Stuff on Craze, connection machines, vector and parallelization. So that's kind of where I played early on in my career. So now I just sit in data land. they don't actually let me log in and touch code anymore. So
No, you sit on conference call land, sir.
I do. You do see that.
I've seen your calendar.
I'm in
Or at least your
conference.
Skype.
I think we need to go cheers and fuck off before we get kicked off.
All right, cheers
Cheers.
to everybody out there.
Ah.
For those
Cheers.
people going to Vegas, we'll see you in Vegas in a couple weeks.
Pay your
and
artist.
The Meta Show is
Pay your
up next. Pay your artist. Later, folks. We appreciate all the time, all the subs, all the follows.